Okay, everybody take a nice big deep breath and let it all go. I am here only to be truly helpful. I am here to represent him who sent me. I do not have to worry about what to say or what to do because he who sent me will direct me. I am content to be wherever he wishes, knowing he goes there with me. I will be healed as I let him teach me to heal. Amen. All right, so we are going to continue on text 84. I'm going to continue with this delightful concept of usurping God, kicking him off the throne and taking his position of power.
Chapter 5?
Correct. So once again, the definition of usurp is to take a position of power or importance illegally or by force. So this idea of usurping in the course is that we basically kick God off the throne. We took it illegally and by force. We now sit on the throne and God is out of the picture. And everything since then has built up from this concept of the belief in separation instead of oneness. And all the rules that began by that first moment are intact in the ego thought system and continue to basically run who we are. Because when we had that tiny mad idea, we took it seriously, we believed it happened. We had guilt, sin, and fear in our minds that we absolutely positively could not tolerate. So the way we solved the problem, because we were too afraid to go back home, was to project it into the world, make myself appear to be the innocent victim and everything and everyone outside of me, the guilty party, so that we literally can pull off having killed off God and remain the innocent victim. Yep.
So that's the special.
That's the original special relationship, is our relationship with God.
That was a special relationship with God.
Oh, yes, definitely.
In order to be independent, that was considered a special.
Well, think about this idea of projecting into the world, okay? The first one we projected onto was God, okay? So I was the innocent victim, God's the perpetrator. It's his fault when I die, you know, he could put me in hell or do whatever he wants to do. Well, the real God just is love. There is no other adjective other than love or oneness that you can put on the real God. So anything that we have placed on the face of God that is not that, is not the God of truth. It's what the Course calls the God of sickness. It's a God made up by the ego, which would then be a special relationship.
So then the chapter that I've been looking at is what's in the picture and the frame. So the frame is how we see it,
Right.
as the way we want it, and the whole picture is God.
I keep getting these. I'm sorry, go ahead.
So that's the idea of the special relationship, is that if we've taken ourselves outside of God, think that we're doing that, and we make up this whole thing about how we frame it all and how it's going to be when we do it, and then but the truth is just the picture without the frame. The truth is just the picture. So it's that change and the words of the picture and the frame are confusing unless I guess I go back to the like where it happened. I guess that's the
Correct.
on that's what the special relationship is.
Yes, and understand that the Course speaks of special relationships, two forms of it. One is special love and one is special hate.
Right.
Special hate, we all are very familiar with. Anybody that irritates me or upsets me is my special hate relationship.
Right.
But special love relationships are very manipulative because they appear to be loving, and yet hidden under there in a deeper unconscious level, there's really a special hate because we make a bargain with that individual to give us X, Y, and Z, and then we'll give them as little as we can give them to get back what we think we want to get from them. But underneath that's really just as much hate, if not more hate, than the special hate relationships that we have.
It's kind of how they took your tiny that idea of separation and then try to embellish it with how this is how you do it when you're in bodies. You embellish it this way, call it special.
Right.
And it's just especially that what the ego has made to counteract with what the truth is. Like
Correct.
and it makes it that way, so it seems like it's the truth. It's so insidious in that way that it makes it that way. That it makes it seem like
right.
it's a version of the truth that'll stand up pretty well compared to just turning your back on God.
Right, but also think too that literally everything within the thought system of the ego is an embellishment. It's artificial. It's a lie. It's a filling in the blank spaces to make it okay. And the first moment when we chose to separate, what we were literally saying to God is, God, let me know it's okay that I separated.
Yeah.
Well, he can't do that. So we lost the connection with God because he wouldn't cooperate with us. So we basically then within the context of the world, look out into the world to find something, someone, some situation that's going to fill me up. It's going to make me feel like I'm loved. And we all know that that never works because the people, the things, the situations that we attempt to be filled up with the special relationships are always going to be faltering because there's nothing in this world that can fill us up like God does. Nothing, absolutely nothing. So no matter how beautiful a relationship in the world may be, there's always a line in the sand that if you don't do this, and oftentimes we don't even know what this is until they don't do it, and then we're sure to let them know. Well, they don't really have what we're looking for anyway. So no matter how hard we try to fill up with, whether it's drugs or people or shopping or being a workaholic, it doesn't matter what form it is. It's never going to fill the hole because it's incapable and it's coming from this side, which doesn't have it yet.
So we really have to keep things like roller coasters and stuff like that going because there's not enough otherwise in the world. Or there's not enough with God to sustain the ego and the way we see it. That there's not enough. It's just not enough to keep us going. So we had to make that special relationship to counteract. Say, well, things are really pretty bad, so let's make a special relationship about it.
Yep. And again, be very aware that once we chose for this, we mind melded with this thought system. This in our memory or in our conscious memory did not exist any longer. This doesn't exist any longer. All we did was have this to work with. Okay, so within the context of this, I'd say we did pretty good to try to manipulate the world to at least attempt to fill us up, because that was our only recourse. So the course comes along and says, yeah, but there's way more that you don't remember that you closed the door to. Number one, you were the one that chose to leave. And then when you go back a step further, we were the Son of God and, basically all was well. But we don't remember this, we don't remember this, and all we do is live in this space. And Ken would often say the most important thing about this course is that it is helping us to realize we have another choice or another part of our mind to choose from. I think Valerie had her hand up and then I'll get you. If you remember what it was. Oh, absolutely, big time. In fact, we're probably the first one on the list.
You say other people and things, it seems like, but then yourself too.
Oh, definitely. And be very aware. This appears to be a character, and I identify with this character, but this character came from a projection of this mind, which was guilt, sin, and fear, and death, and hate, and whatever too. So of course, this is going to have those attributes equally. Definitely. Anytime you don't feel like you're good enough, you don't think you're attractive enough, you think you're not smart enough, and absolutely anything where you look at yourself and you think you should be something different than you are. Lack, yeah. All of those, I'm not as good as my brother, I don't have enough money, whatever, it doesn't matter what form it comes, it's somewhere where I'm not settled with who I am as I am.
It's like just everything.
Just everything.
That we
Pretty
don't
much.
like, that we don't understand, like your big toe when something's going on with it, or, it's just like whatever irks you, or you
Yes.
think it should, why did it, watching the neighbors or the spot on the rug, whatever it is, that's a special, you're actually forming a special relationship
Exactly.
with that. So that's
Yes.
like really a centerpiece of the whole thing, like special. Of course, in our world, it seems like special is really good.
Correct.
But it's not.
Not
The
so in this
special
one.
part of that is just that you specialize yourself away from God, and you
Right.
don't even realize it. You think that everything that everything that you make or do or it has to be a certain way. That's not. That God doesn't know how it should be. That God doesn't. There's no relationship with God in it. That everything you do, you're trying to do so that you can make an impression, or because of you feeling like it's what you know how to do, and that's what you do, and then that it keeps it all special and away from God.
And the most, how do I want to word this? The biggest disadvantage to putting all our eggs in the world and trying to fill ourselves with what the world has to provide is that any moment you're doing that, you're not choosing this. Okay, so choosing this is the only way out. So anytime we're spacing out in any direction here, looking for the answers the world might hopefully provide for us, it's keeping us from choosing the real answer that will provide what you need.
So I guess I'm feeling that about like if I have a desire, if I feel a certain way, sometimes I think, okay, I'm just gonna eat a cookie. And that's like a special relationship I'm gonna have with the cookie where
Sure.
Otherwise I could just eat a cookie and it would be fine, but I somehow think something's missing here. And that's like the part, like for addiction, how addiction comes in.
Sure.
Something's missing. And there's all these other things I can do or have, and I'll just do that, and then I'll be okay.
Right.
And you're distracted for that time.
Right.
And you think maybe you got a handle on something, but you didn't.
And I think that it's really important for us to realize that, again, the world was set up that way. We literally cannot survive as a baby unless somebody took us. We literally can't survive if I don't have food or air to breathe. So it's like, where do I chop this down? So what the course is asking us to do is look at when you think you need that cookie because it's going to help fill you up. Definitely eat the cookie, go for it. But just observe, oh, here's just another way where the ego's playing its games, because we can't not breathe and eat or we'll die. And this is not about dying, it's about becoming aware of what the value that the body's been set up to be used for is playing, so that eventually I'll want to choose the other choice. And then if it's time to relinquish my body, it will be done not from a threatening place, but just a laying down experience of I'm done with what the value of my body has right now. It'll be a very gentle experience.
So you release the cookie and wait. Say, I don't know what's the matter. Instead of right away thinking I need to fill this hole up because I'm just going to have a fit, or anything that's where I have to go shopping or I have to do something like that.
Yes.
So you just wait, sit back and wait for further instructions.
And again, right or not, right? Yeah.
Or eat the cookie.
It's never about the cookie.
Right.
Well, of course, it's never about the
Right.
cookie.
That's just it. Like you're having this, this discussion with the cookie, or you're thinking, oh, I'm just gonna, okay, this is what I'm gonna do.
Right.
Holy Spirit, where's that? this is what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna have this cookie and everything's gonna be fine, but
That's the problem.
Right.
It's not the cookie,
Right.
Yeah, right.
it's the thought behind the cookie.
Right, so instead of doing anything else at that point, or, I'm gonna just
So
say,
don't you see that all those thoughts revolving around the cookie, do
Yeah.
you see how you project on yourself victimhood?
well,
I think that's the
I do.
important word that we're
Yeah,
leaving out
sure.
here. I am a victim, I'm sorry.
Well, sometimes if I eat the cookie, then I know, because I'm not happy either. So it's like what you said, Rose, like.
There you go.
It's about your sense of who you are at that moment. It's
So
your
that's
sense
a
of who you
belief.
are.
That's a fundamental belief. Where did that belief come from, and is that true? No, it's a lie. So eat the cookie. The cookie's not gonna make you feel better. So my experience with this is, all of this gets really complicated
Mhm.
and becomes a matter of speed. What used to take me a month started to take 2 weeks, then it took 2 days, then it took 2 hours.
Yep.
So, but what wakes me up to the process is that I realize I am projecting onto myself victim. I am a victim. And that victim has a voracious appetite. Look what it does to you revolving around a cookie.
Right, sure.
Well, and it's kind of, it does it once, and then the next time I think a little different, like you said, I go, maybe, but then now I see it for what it is, rather than, this is gonna help me have a better life.
It doesn't seem like you're seeing it for what it is,
If you
but that's
really want to
your,
bring it down to the simplicity, the problem is I think the cookie is separate from me.
Mhm.
I see it as separate. And the
Bringing
moment I
something.
see it as separate, I'm on this side of the chart, period.
Well, anything when you think of bringing something,
Exactly.
Sure, a breath of air.
Right?
Yep.
the other word that Marianne brought up was awareness. How quickly
Absolutely.
can I become aware of
There
this
you go.
dysfunctional process?
There you go.
Because the quicker I can become aware of it,
Yeah.
then I can make the choice that I chose wrongly.
Right.
The other thing that I'm experiencing at the moment is, the more I become aware of my need to be a victim and see that, I see it now in other people. It's all the same thing.
Right.
So then it
Definitely.
becomes easier for me to be gentle, kind, and loving to them, because I suffer just like them.
Yep.
Now, I don't want to project my suffering onto them. That's just a compounding
or
problem.
you already have when you see that stuff.
Well, that's true.
That's all, no big deal. So you just bring it back to self.
I mean, in some cases, they wake me up to my own personal
Exactly.
suffering. I see the suffering.
That's the gift.
So how quickly can I move through this process to make a different choice?
And I think it's a tricky thing, and I know we talk about this a lot because we think we want to solve the problem on the outside. It's solving the problem on the inside. And for one person, that may be going on a diet and not eating the cookies. That for another person, it could be experimenting with, can I eat this cookie without any guilt? I mean, everyone's in a different place at a different time and experiencing things differently, but it's really about going within. That's the most important thing. And I'll tell a real quick story. When I was at the foundation, many times, and I noticed that I would eat more junk food when I was there, and I would purposely bring things, and I started feeling guilty about it. And then I thought, this place, because you got 5 or 6 hours a day of bam, 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 bam of the Course of Miracles, which was pretty overwhelming. And it occurred to me that was my comfort, because there was so much new being penetrated into my brain that this was actually like my security blanket. So there's times when eating, food that we think maybe isn't good for us is helpful. And eventually we could eat anything or not eat anything and be perfectly fine. But that's not where we are right now. So again, use every opportunity to observe, become aware. Am I feeling guilty because I'm eating this cookie? And who said I should feel guilty because I'm eating a cookie?
Well, really, the choice thing is noticing that you made the wrong choice.
Exactly. And that
You
wasn't
chose-
because of the
you chose
cookie. It
the
was up
evil
here. Yep,
over the Holy Spirit.
correct.
That's all you did.
And
That's all you did.
looking is making another choice.
Absolutely. Yes.
So if you take the Holy Spirit with you while you're eating the cookie, it's fine
It's
or not fine, whatever.
Where did that come from, looking? Is making another choice.
oh, definitely.
Separate
You can't,
Um,
right.
the ego thought system and look at it.
The ego never looks at the ego.
Right.
So be aware, Mary, and if you're looking, you have to be up here, you can't be here. So now the looker is, or the observer is observing the character called Mary Ann. So you've kind of pulled away from the character Mary Ann. And there's loads of places throughout the course that talk about looking. It's a very important aspect,
I know.
Right.
I didn't realize it was considered within.
right? Yep,
Well, that's the red dot, yes.
right, yeah.
Thank you.
And be aware, there's only one dot. You're either identifying with the Mary Ann or you're identifying with the observer. When you're identifying with the Mary Ann, you're extending the carpet of time. When we're up here observing Mary Ann, time collapses. So it's a good place to be in the
You say
process
that
of the
you-
course.
that You don't have control over that, you don't think you can do that, I mean, it just happens.
Well,
You can't force yourself to do that.
no, you can't force yourself. But at the same time, I would say kind of put it out there that I want to spend more time observing. And I know this is rather obtuse and it's hard to put into words. But the more you can think of yourself sitting in the audience, holding the hand of Jesus, observing a play of which you're one of the characters. And watch, you can even do things like, okay, Russ just got out of bed, he's gonna have a cup of coffee, now he's, getting dressed, he's taking a shower, and just really be very meticulous in the regard to being very observant of the steps that character is taking. Because we are so, just like a knee-jerk response in the doctor's office, we just do and go and whatever. We don't really pay attention. And the more we can do that, the more we're literally in the moment.
Because otherwise we're feeling victimized. Like that
And-
alarm clock
yeah.
went off, damn it, I gotta get up, now I gotta do this, now I got, why, I don't know, why did it have to be me? I mean, I've lived years like that.
Absolutely.
What is
Well,
who-
right.
Put somebody in charge of me where I gotta do all this crap.
you did.
And I went along with it.
Absolutely.
I guess
Yep.
it's not that I would like drop it all, but look, go to the observer. Like you said, start with the observer. Well, why am I getting up at 6 o'clock? Maybe I could set it for 6:30. I don't know, like different thoughts will come once you go
Right.
into the thing of, help me, Holy Spirit. How do I
Yep.
see life differently?
Yep.
Or do I still feel victimized by God or, whoever's running the show, who I think is running the show?
And think about when you're the observer, okay, think of these are little ticks of time every moment of the day. When you're an observer, you're outside of time and space, okay? And while you're outside of time and space, the tick of time continues to happen. So when you come back, you've literally collapsed this much time that you don't actually have to physically participate in. So it's a real time saver. The course talks a great deal about the idea of this is an accelerated course and it is here to save time. And the way it saves time is I don't have to participate in large sections of time because I'm literally outside of time.
That's confusing.
I know, we'll talk. No, it is confusing.
It shortens time because you are learning to help to make the right decision.
Well, no, it shortens time because when you rise out of time and you're either on the line, I guess, of the moments of time or you're rising above time. Okay. So while you're rising above time, time continues to tick. But when you come back into time, this much of that time has been erased from your experience, I guess you could say.
And that's forgiveness.
And that's forgiveness, yeah.
Well, you either do that or waste all that time,
Well,
fretting about it or being,
well, being upset, irritated,
Yeah,
anxious,
like
and
you're
all
so
the other
upset,
things,
so
right?
why do I, keep questioning that in that strain of being victimized? And then to just say, to stop for one, and you only stop for 1 second or so.
That's
You
right.
say, God, I don't like this, help me.
Yep.
And you had maybe 2 breaths, and you collapsed that little bit of time, but
Right. All those little bits add up.
because otherwise, then you're always chasing yourself. You're chasing after time. I'm late. I'm gonna be late. I have to do this. Hurry, I have to be late. So
Yep.
I'm gonna be late, and then you are late, and then you feel like you've been victimized by
Yep.
time.
Mhm.
I'm out of time. I don't have time for this. I have no time.
And that's a good place to practice. And when you do that, I found that, you're either late and then whatever it was that didn't start yet, or, I mean, it's really interesting.
Interesting.
Yeah, that's
You have
really-
not been victimized by time. You have been victimized by Andrea.
Well, okay, but
Time that cannot victimize.
Well,
you.
but understand though,
I'm really just asking the question and engaging the idea. I'm trying to get to the, I'm trying to cement it in my own mind.
right,
Yeah, I mean, I understand that,
Okay, that's.
but as
okay.
long as I'm focusing my mind, wrong mind is, in my opinion, is now I'm placing blame on time, so I don't have to take any responsibility, which isn't fixing the problem. No one's doing anything to me.
Well,
correct,
it's been a long time in my life before I really understood that.
yes,
That I could be, that when the alarm clock went off at that time, that I had to get up and crack the whip and that was it.
That's the
And
way
in the
you
last-
set it up.
sure,
So it's been, but it was a
What's
long
the
time
problem?
in my life at my age now that I understand that it works better the other way, that I have, glommed onto it.
And you believe you set it up that way.
Well, I don't know if I did or not, but that's not the
Well,
important
Well, then
thing.
who did?
The
Who
important
did?
thing,
Who did?
I don't care about that right now. I just want to know that I can be released from that. And I don't really want to, if I have to say who it is or why, I
Well,
know.
How else are you gonna deal with it?
Well, I
And
just-
time isn't gonna release you.
Well, I know, it didn't, but somehow I was released when I asked the Holy Spirit for help. I don't know what the hell happened, but I stopped being all upset.
Well, maybe you changed your mind.
I probably did.
well,
But it
Well,
feels like
that's what I'm
somebody
saying.
changed
You
it
set
for
it
me.
up that way. You
Well,
can change it.
Well, that's nice. I thought I set it up so I could do it right.
and be aware that,
The real problem is here, Harvey starts at Z, and Andrew is trying to take us from A through Z. Harvey's giving us the answer, but kind of steps along the way.
That's, I
Exactly.
need to like, you think about one thing at a time. What you focus on is what expands. If you focus on how miserable you are, that expands, and you can't always get out of that, except if you have a good reason or see that there's a way to do it.
Do you need to, or do you want to?
Yes.
yeah, go ahead.
So the whole collapsing time thing, is it really just the mind remembering that there is no time?
Correct, because, again, no time, no time,
So when
time.
every time we spend, the mind spends time in no, outside of time, it's remembering there is no time.
Perfect, yes. And the choice for separation was the birth of time. And so I guess you could say the absence of time will be remembering the untime experience. And yes, all of us feel like an innocent victim of time. It's part of the package we bought. So again, the problem isn't time. The problem is we bought a thought system that believes in time, and then we accepted that as a truth, just like we accept gravity and everything else that is played out in this world. But none of those exist in untime or body, anything formlessness, I guess is the best word. to use.
Again, I've accepted the ego as my teacher.
Absolutely,
over The Holy Spirit as my teacher.
absolutely, yes.
Now, I don't know how this plays out in practicality, but in the holy instant, there is no time, there is no Harvey.
That is absolutely correct.
No space.
There is no nothing. And that's why we right now don't stay there real often, because that's
for an
too
instant.
terrifying.
That's why it's a holy instant.
Correct,
And
correct,
somehow I get my mind to accept
yes,
this isn't,
correct.
time isn't.
And as Bert was saying, that time between me recognizing that something's happening starts to get smaller and smaller, because I'm becoming more and more comfortable that it's okay over here. It's not, I'm not going to get blown away or whatever. It's going to be a gradual process of undoing versus the heaviness of the darkness of the belief in separation. Yeah, go ahead, Bert.
I do a reasonably good job of becoming aware of how screwed up I am. And basically what's happening is I'm giving myself negative parental messages. And
Okay.
playing the victim, right? So now I become aware. So this is the point that I don't really know what to do, because when I become aware of the negative parental messages, do I reverse that process and give myself positive parental messages? I don't see the difference between the two things as it relates to, I'm still playing the function of God. The nightmare or, the happy dream.
Okay, and that's a good question. And the answer is remain the observer to the best of your ability. You don't have to feed yourself positive things. And if that makes you feel better, you can do it, but that's not a requirement. The more you spend out of time, the more you are connecting with the truth of who you are. And so if you go back to, I got to fix it, I've got to change it, I've got to know how to answer it, all that kind of stuff, you're really popping back on the ego
I'm
side.
just an ego.
Exactly.
And
This is, I don't know.
I'm trying to create a thing.
Absolutely. And there's a lot of spiritual, new age practices out there that really go along that line. And I think that can be a helpful step when you're in a really miserable places. But this goes beyond that. How do I know what this is from over here? I don't. I have no clue. And that's what he's trying to say to us. You can't fix this. You can.
Words,
Yes.
I don't know.
I don't know, and I can't fix it. I don't even know what the problem is that, the course goes that far.
I'm listening to a Rupert Spirit
Right.
podcast right now.
Right.
And basically he's talking about this same thing. And if I switch and I try to give myself positive affirmations or whatever I do to create the happy dream, I'm simply pulling myself farther away from God.
Exactly. And just like I said in reference a few minutes ago, when you're doing anything here, it keeps you from connecting here. There's your cookie.
And it's only the ego that analyzes.
Always correct.
So
Yes.
what are we doing?
Well, we analyze until we don't have to anymore, Bob.
Pardon?
We analyze until we don't have to anymore.
You know what I think of it as time now.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
You know,
For
like
sure.
a beautiful piece of tapestry.
Yep. All right, we're gonna go.
Mary Ann?
Yes, Jason.
Yes. So what's the course's stance on like creative visualization?
It would say don't. I mean, and I'm not saying that may not be a step that's helpful for you at this time or for anyone at this time. But ultimately, if I'm creating or visualizing something, it's coming from over here because I'm using my brain to figure it out. The Course is saying you don't know what the answer looks like. You haven't got any clay or material to work with that comes from over here, other than relinquishing your attachment to this and asking for healing. And again, if you feel like that's helpful at this time, keep doing that, but eventually they'll come to a point where you'll understand that even that step is no longer necessary. All right. Oh, yes, I'm sorry, creative visualization. All right, so we're going to go to text 84, paragraph number 3. And I know we've gone over this, but I want to go over this paragraph again, because it does have some really powerful concepts that are talked about a number of times throughout the course, that it makes it important to recognize, because it's what's going on all the time.
I have guilt, I wasn't paying attention.
Oh, that's no problem. Text 84, paragraph 3. All right. So the ego is the part of the mind that believes in division. How could part of God detach itself without believing it is attacking him? We spoke before of the authority problem is based on the concept of usurping God's power. The ego believes, oh, we're on paragraph 3, by the way. The ego believes that this is what you did because it believes that it is you. If you identify with the ego, you must perceive yourself as guilty. Whenever you respond to your ego, you will experience guilt and you will fear punishment. The ego is quite literally a fearful thought. However ridiculous the idea of attacking God may be to the sane mind, never forget that the ego is not sane. It represents a delusional system and speaks for it. Listening to the ego's voice means that you believe it is possible to attack God and that a part of him has been torn away by you. Fear of retaliation from without follows because the severity of the guilt is so acute that it must be projected. A good paragraph. So for those of you who are new, I usually go through line by line and then talk about it. So the ego is the part of the mind that believes in division. So when we had the tiny mad idea and took it seriously, we believed we were separate. We were, devised from God, you might say, but we're separate from the love of God. We're on our own. There's more than one. Oneness no longer exists. We've killed off that concept, and keep remembering, if there's two-ness, oneness doesn't exist anymore. It's either oneness or two-ness, oneness or two-ness. We believe in two-ness. Now there's a me and there's a God. There's a me and my brother, instead of oneness where we were all one, which we can't even imagine what oneness would be like. It's not in our conscious awareness yet. And that's, as we keep choosing to connect with that oneness, we will slowly and gradually not only understand that, but will completely embrace it. So
There's God and the Son, but really
they're all one. Yeah.
It's oneness.
Yeah, it's more
That's
like
all
this,
that's going on
right? It's more
is
like
oneness.
this sun with the rays being the sun, but it's still
It's
all
all
part
part
of
of
it. Yeah.
oneness.
Like the ocean, all drops in the ocean.
Correct.
same thing.
Yes,
It's oneness. It's part of the oneness.
correct,
There's no beginning or end. That's how you can distinguish.
correct.
There is nothing separate.
Nope.
Or something different from supposedly the one being.
Right. But also look at how tricky this setup is, because from the moment I took my first breath, there was a me, a doctor, a nurse, a mother, or somebody, all this separation was immediate the moment.
Portrays separation. The
Exactly.
whole gang.
The whole deal. That's what we get. And we have to become aware, if we step back far enough, that's what we chose to have
That's
it be,
exact-
to keep us very filtrated in this thought system without ever even questioning that there was something before what we're experiencing. Yep.
and there's you and angry God.
And there's you and an
Separated.
angry God,
And the
yes.
anger comes from your own separation. That
Yep.
you have decided that you're gonna do things differently.
Right. It
So
wasn't
that's
God
the
that kicked you,
separation.
right. It wasn't God that kicked us out. It was we that chose to leave him. And again, that's very different than a lot of
You know, in
spiritualities.
this second to the last sentence, it says, part of him, God, has been torn away by you.
Mm,
By you.
Yes.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
That's all that there is.
Listening to the ego's voice means that
No
you
one is
believe it's
doing
possible.
anything.
Exactly.
You believe it's possible.
And
that
it
God
also
is
says that
torn away
you
by you.
believe it is possible to attack God. He doesn't really say we did it, but we do believe it. And, you know, this isn't real, but we believe it's
Well,
real.
that's the serious idea.
All of it, everything, all of a sudden, it in an instant, and it's done. I mean, it never happened.
It never happened, and it can collapse that way, going the other way, but to the degree that we still believe it's real, it is, we're going to live the experiences of that belief system. So this is really about changing the belief system, and then the rest of it fixes itself.
Collapse, right?
Yes.
Well, I was brought up Catholic, and we were taught that we were born with original sin, so it's like,
Well, that's how the Bible presented.
Right,
Think
Sure.
of that as separation. Yeah. Sin.
And all through the Bible, that's what you got.
Yep.
How could you behave any other way?
What was the original sin? What exactly?
well, I
was
mean,
the
first
sin?
of all, the Course would say there is no such thing as sin, so that kind of changes the whole story around. But it does say that the Son of God made a mistake that we believe is true, and we're reaping the effects of that belief system. But it's not a sin, it was simply a tiny mad idea, it was a silly mistake that can be rectified, as opposed to, again, you're not bashing the Bible, but basically it says, you know, there's not much hope here for us. And, you know, the Course is saying it was a mistake can be changed. You know, we went the wrong way, but now we realize we've gone the wrong way, and now we can turn around and go back the way we came. Very different.
And the Bible was written by the ego,
That's right.
which is the Antichrist,
There you go.
which is also the devil.
Oh, that's true.
Yeah, probably not a good idea.
I feel like this is the sentence in the book that tells us how, what the division is.
Right, yes.
And how impossible it is that a supreme being, God, could not allow that, but that isn't, that's not, if that being is supreme in the universe, then whatever we do is secondary to that. And you either have a supreme being or you don't.
that's
Well,
not
and as Harvey said earlier, the supreme being and the son of the supreme being are all the same. So we not only ripped that away from God, we ripped it away from ourselves by making that choice. So we've left ourselves unidentifiable, you might say.
Because we were
I
created
don't
by
think there's
God.
any hope for you until you get to that point, until you take total responsibility that.
I am
have
responsible.
done this to myself.
The secret is you're doing
This to
yourself.
yourself.
There is only yourself. All these bodies are just dream figures.
Yep.
Of which we are part of the dream figure.
I don't like to talk about that, but I like the first part. I don't
It's
like to
okay.
think that
Well,
you-
work with what
that
you
you're not
like.
really, I mean, that makes me out. No, I'm sorry. If I'm in my house and I'm thinking that, you know, I'm the only person in the universe, I'm sorry, that absolutely freaks me out. I have to go talk to somebody on the phone or whatever, you know, to reestablish.
You gotta take yourself where you are. There's no other way to do this. So, yeah. Yep. So how could a part of God detach itself without believing it is attacking him? All right, we stole something
can't.
from God, or there's the, right, God fell down. Ugh, get back there.
See, that's the myth we made up.
Yeah, I know it is, but we're living it, and so we believe
We're
it's
still telling
true.
ourselves
Yes,
That's where you
That's
have to
story.
start.
there's only one throne. God is on the throne. The effects of the Son from the Father is that he loves you, you're at peace, you're eternal, Christ, joy, innocence, and we're all the same. These are the gifts that God portrayed or gave to each one of, well, at that time, there was only one son. To all the son, all the gifts that he had. The only thing that God had that the Son didn't have was to be a creator. The Son said, I want to be a creator. I want to be special. I want to be different. So he kicked God off the throne. And remember, there's only one throne. Either God's on it or we're on it. And now we're on the throne, separated from God. And now we live in guilt, sin, fear, death, projection, and indifference. And we say, I like being separate, but what's with all this stuff? But we didn't realize when we bought that package, this is what came with it. And we lost all the attributes of God in our awareness. Now, they didn't go anywhere. We just covered them over with the cloud of the belief of the thought system we adhere to at this time. And this is what we've done since the Big Bang, and it is continued since the Big Bang. So now, and we spend all our life playing in this arena, thinking this is where I find all my answers. And the Course comes along and says, well, we have another story here for you, dudes. And the story is you chose this as a result of the choice for having believed that you separated from the love of God. And this is what you get. This is what you're going to get. And this will remain the same until you change your mind.
So the apple reading is symbolic of,
Yeah.
the story you're telling.
Yeah.
He did something, he thought he did something against God's wish.
Exactly.
God had no wishes anyhow.
Correct.
I don't know where above the line, the tiny mad idea came as an idea,
Yep.
okay?
Doesn't
So
matter.
there, we split the mind, and now we have a split mind,
Absolutely.
okay? And the three sections, the three
Right, left,
components
middle.
of the split mind came into being.
Yep.
And then we were hearing two voices,
Mhm.
okay? And then the red
Dot.
decision maker
Mhm.
decided to accept the ego's answer, and which in effect covered over the Holy Spirit. Now there's no more Holy Spirit.
Yep.
Then we started rolling, and that's.
We've been
all it
rolling
is.
ever since. Yep.
See, that's really what took place.
What's
The
the
silly
price?
mad idea before this even came,
Yep, before you were
Hello,
born.
pussycat.
You know,
Fiona said, hello, pussycat.
this is where we started, this is where we started playing love.
This is where we
Up until
started,
that point, all we had to do was laugh at the idea,
but we didn't.
and none of this would have taken place.
Yep, and we've been not laughing ever since.
And that's what the whole game of looking. I mean, when you're really looking at really what's going on.
Yep.
You see how silly it is.
Well, yes, but that takes a while
Oh,
before we're ready to
absolutely.
look that carefully. Yes. After a while, though, you begin to just look at the insanity of the ego. And that's what we're being asked to do. The ego's made up from all the attributes on this board. Why are we expecting love and peace and joy to be found here? It is not going to be found here.
It's not gonna change.
A little bit of special love thrown in there once in a while. They kind of, like the shiny coins, but it's not the love of God that
The
will fulfill
problem
us.
is we can't understand the concept of oneness, and we're trying to understand the concept of, the right side of the chart. You'll never understand that from this
Until you
side.
choose it.
Never will.
Well, they're mutually exclusive thought systems.
Exactly. And you have, if you don't like what we're being taught, which we're teaching to ourselves,
We're always at that
change
place,
teachers.
though.
That's what he's asking.
We're always at that same place though, where we can decide, where we can go back.
Yeah, well, and then watch how you don't want to.
Well, but no, I don't want to watch how I don't want to. When I want to go back, I want to go back.
That's key.
Right, there you go.
That is so key. I can't even tell you
Yep.
that I want it, because if
Yep.
I want it, then I cannot want it. See,
Oh,
if
yeah,
I
that's our
don't-
salvation. Yep.
And I'm not saying I'm there most of the time, I'm not, but I do understand intellectually the idea of, I want this, and I've had some experiences of that,
Yes,
because that puts the ball in my court.
absolutely.
Otherwise, the ball is in someone else's court, which leaves me a victim.
Yes.
as Bert said.
And go ahead. you finish.
And then the other thing is, oneness isn't a concept. That's the problem.
Mhm.
I can't understand it because it's not a concept.
Mhm. It just is.
The only way that I can understand that is that this is where I came from. And I'm having this human experience, and this is a part of the process, and I'm going home. And I'm not sure that it's for us to know within the confines of this human experience.
Where you're trying to,
Yeah,
in this world, you're trying to understand, and it's impossible.
before I
There's
was,
nothing
the
to
only thing I can
understand.
do is go back to where was I before I was born? I didn't have an ego or any of these
Yes, you
issues.
did.
Yes,
But
you
see,
did.
that's the thing.
That's the
You,
part.
the Son of God had an ego the moment it chose for this thought system and left this one behind.
And you
That
were
was
still in
before
heaven
you were
at that
born.
time.
Correct.
We hadn't left heaven yet.
You popped in with every ounce of guilt that you have today until we keep choosing to release that. So this is not about Bert.
Yeah, but now you get really, this goes really deep because now.
It does
you
go deep.
You go into nothing. So now.
We
I
know
would
you don't
have to
like
say
that.
What it is that you're talking about or subscribing is, I have to go back to fundamental Buddhism. And once there's energy, you can't kill energy, which means there's still a thing. And I was just formed out of this energy in order to be contaminated.
Okay,
at
but
birth.
we're making this too complicated,
Yeah.
people. Are you miserable in this moment?
Okay, so
And
let's-
if you
let's-
are,
let's
are you
fast
willing
forward
to add
and go to
again?
Paragraph 5, sentence number 1, the guiltless mind cannot suffer. So for
Amen.
the confines of what we're doing here, the reality of it is, I make myself suffer, which means I choose suffering, which is a function of the ego. So let's.
But
let's
not
go
Bert.
back.
But
Let's
wait
go
a
back.
minute. Wait,
Become
not
aware of
Bert.
his suffering, and the reality of it is, I can make a different choice. I don't want to suffer. So then what
Good.
do? Become aware and forgive myself. End of story.
Okay.
There you're good. Forgive yourself for not doing anything.
The ego
Because nothing's
come without all thought of what you ever learned before, and put aside all images
Right.
that you have made.
Correct. But understand, it's really important.
You know what, that's not.
Yeah, I'll be there. So, I mean, I get all that, except this is where I don't understand the course, which subscribes to be, there is no thing, there's nothing. And we can't grasp this concept of no thing. That's saying there's gotta be something that gets put together to make me a human.
Yeah,
In
but you're understand, you're not a human over here,
Right.
okay?
No.
And the course is always talking from the level of thought. It has nothing to do with bodies. The thought of connection, oneness, the thought of separation. These are where the problem lies, is when you're choosing this. The character called Marianne or Bert is the effect of that choice. We need to go back to where the choice and what the two choices are.
There are two thoughts.
Two thoughts, that's it.
Pick one or the other.
See,
Yes.
it's all happening, and you're trying to make something out of it, which we all do.
Right, and it's not about Bert. That's what I really wanted, because I'm taking all the guilt that all of us carry and have carried for eons of time, trying to help lift it, because it's not about what I've done or haven't done. It's about the thought system I'm living under that believes I've separated, or the one
That's
that's
it,
the
that's
right
it.
one. That's it.
And that- It feels like, it feels like you're victimized by that thought system.
Absolutely.
You are.
But when you talk about no thing, so you get, when you actually feel what that's saying and you go to the chart, you go to that red dot and you say, God, help me. And you get this flash of what to do or what not to do. It's no thing. It's everything. It's okay, this is it. This is my life. This is what I'm supposed to do with it right this moment. And the collapse time is all over the place. And you wake up going, wow. look at
God
that."
does not come in the world to help us.
Well,
No,
that's
he
true,
doesn't.
except,
He
no, but,
doesn't come in the world.
but to feel like I'm engaged with God is a help. That's the help I need. If I don't get that, then I don't know what the hell's going on.
God's a symbol.
That's it.
Whatever it is.
And that's it. That's it right there. I don't know what the hell is going on.
And so-
I'm afraid,
that-
and I'm afraid to let go to that nothingness.
And
And
when
that's
you
the
do-
challenge. And that's what's so scary. And that's
Okay.
what's so deep. And that's what's so dark.
When you
And that's what's
do,
so challenging.
when you do, you get to the other side of the chart and you feel it is nothing. It's not nothing, it's everything. It's what
Right.
your whole life is depending on to move forward in this system with Jesus or God or whoever is running the show.
It can't be everything because there's no thing.
You haven't been there yet, and I'm
But-
telling you.
but
Who's
it-
on first?
Okay.
But again, we're trying to use words to describe experience,
Right,
and
that's
this is
right.
about relinquishing all of it to have the experience. And then you won't be able to explain it because you're coming from a different experience. But
I love
with
you,
that,
Mary Ann.
I love you too.
When it keeps buzzing in your head like a feather, you'll know it.
You know what, Mary Ann is that this being in this course is like taking the bottle, the bottle thing. And
Right.
turning it
Oh, yeah,
upside down,
turning it
right?
upside down. Our whole world is going to be turned upside down. Yes.
We came up with, it's, you turn, the bottle is being turned upside down, shaken,
Oh, yeah.
and the top taken off.
Yep.
Okay,
And that's our brain being
Okay.
asked to let go everything.
that's the process. We're like, don't, don't empty. I'm not trying to empty.
Nope.
That's not a thing, that's everything dumped out.
It's too scary to have
Yes.
everything done.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's okay. And acknowledging it.
It's okay
That's
to be
what we-
afraid.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, and be very aware, step one in the separation was the Son of God decided to do something on its own and has done so ever since. The step coming back home is I have to relinquish all my control. Well, I've been playing control since the Big Bang. I don't want to relinquish my control. So life just gets uglier and more painful and more suffering. And then eventually you go, all right, what do you got for me? Because I can't do this on my own.
You know, the funny thing is, he doesn't ask us to give up the control. He doesn't tell us to do anything except,
Get out of the way.
except change the purpose. It's a classroom with a different purpose. Okay, if you go with the purpose of the ego, it's meaningless. The only purpose is when you choose the Holy Spirit thought system. Bottom
And-
line, that's it.
That's
Two
it.
choices.
And the challenge is, he's talking about my life. I don't want to give up everything about me, my life, my experience, what I think I am. And that's where the challenge comes
Yeah, but
in.
you know, you finally come to a place where you
Well,
see
amen.
it's not so wonderful. Even the brief
Exactly.
moments that you think you have, there's nothing.
That's exactly correct. And until we get to that point, we're going to play it on our own,
Just one cookie at a time.
one cookie at a time. All right, we're going to take about a 10-minute break, but before we do, we have somebody new. So we're going to go around the room and say our names. I'm Mary Ann.
Rose, Tishara,
What was your son?
Sunny?
Sunny? Okay.
Hassan.
Hassan? S-H-A-N? Okay.
Andrea.
Russ.
Your name?
I'm
Go on to the next.
Well,
Okay.
Shelley. Mary Ann.
Bert, Harvey, Bob.
Well, good to have you with the class, and I hope you enjoy it. All right, so we will take a 10-minute break and come back and play some more because we're having so much fun today. Are back to paragraph 3. Let's see what we can, kind of trouble we can get into now. So again, how could part of God detach itself without believing it is attacking him? We spoke before of the authority problem is based on the concept of usurping God's power. So again, whoever is in charge is going to bring a different effect. And if God's in charge because of our choice, then we will get the effects of that choice. If the ego is in charge, we'll get the effects of choosing the ego. Who's in charge? Who's got the power? Who's the authority here? And since we chose this, mine melted with it and stayed with it since the Big Bang. The authority that's been running the show is the ego. Okay, not Mary Ann, not Bert. The choice for the ego is what's running the show. All right. And it's because we chose to usurp God and God's power. The ego believes that this is what you did because it believes that it is you. All right. This is the thought system that came. We then projected it into the world, took on the identity of one of the characters called me. And now I attach all my beliefs, all my concerns and whatnot on the character called me, thinking it's me that's doing bad things or wrong things, or I'm not good enough, or I have lack, or all that kind of stuff. But it's actually a projection of the thought that is in the mind that brought forth the picture that appears to be this picture. So not only did we project the guilt, sin, and fear into my brother, I put it in myself as well.
It's the picture that of my relationship with the ego.
Well, it's not just your relationship, it is the ego projected
Well, that's my
into the
special
world.
relationship with
Right.
that thought system.
Correct.
And that's what I get in this world.
It's unequivocal, you can't not get it as long as you're identified with that thought system. And if you've ever driven a stick shift, you know you can't be in 2 gears at the same time. You're in one or you're in the other. It can't, you know, the noise is not very pretty. Let's just say if you try to do it differently, okay? And,
Trying to drive a parked car.
well, yeah, done it all. All right, so he goes on to say, if you identify with the ego, you must perceive yourself as guilty. How do I know I identify with the ego? I am not totally at peace. I am never in a place of suffering. If I'm there, then I don't have to worry about the rest of this. But if I'm not, it's telling me, I mean, again, Jesus is telling us over and over exactly where we're sitting. We don't know it. He knows it. And he's trying to help us get the understanding of what we're up to and what the effects of that choice are bringing us.
He said, resign as your own teacher and let me teach you.
Absolutely. And again, just before the break, I said, when the problem occurred, when we made the choice to separate, the undoing will be when I relinquish being in charge of what the answer is going to be. All right, so if the ego believes that this is what you do, all right, I read that, I'm sorry. Whenever you, I'm going to read line 5 again, sorry. If you identify with the ego, you must perceive yourself as guilty. So whether you're consciously aware of it or not, we are sitting and being run by a pile of guilt. Okay, don't be surprised. Exactly. And I know there are some people that say, well, I don't feel guilty. I assure you, guilt is a far-reaching word word that means anything that's not peace. And whether you see it in yourself or you see it in somebody else. Absolutely. All right. That's where we're going right now. Whenever you respond to your ego, in other words, when you've chosen for the ego, you will experience guilt and you will fear punishment. And I was thinking this week, you know, if we all just thought of a moment where we did something wrong or bad, or we did it wrong, and you were waiting for your boss to come and yell at you, or your parents to give you a hard time about it, whatever form that may present itself in your life experiences, aren't you always waiting for them to yell at you or punish you or maybe lose your job or whatever? It's like there is that, I did something wrong and something's going to come and get me now that I've done something wrong.
And
Okay.
you start thinking of a story about how you didn't really do it or something.
Right.
You start thinking of, you really start thinking of God's way, is that you didn't mean it because you were just caught up in it. You made a choice that was wrong, and that's what happened. You didn't-
Well, but I'm saying now that we're in the course, we understand that a bit more, but I'm saying in the general way of observing and experiencing guilt, if we've done something wrong, we're waiting for somebody to come and, you know, do one of these, whether it's our parent or, you know, whoever, it doesn't matter. We're waiting for some form of punishment because we believe we did something wrong. Okay. Anybody not ever had that experience in the room? Just checking. Oh, she has. You feel guilty. You know, that you're laughing at that, but that is so correct because we're so addicted to it. And that's one of the challenges we have. Being over here means I'm not guilty, and that's so unfamiliar. I don't know what it's like not to feel guilty. And we have to grow into the memory of I'm fine, I'm perfect. But I mean, how sick is that, people? Sick, sick, sick.
In a wrong system and everything feels wrong, no matter what we do, you know.
Exactly. Oh, that's the Thanksgiving thing, and this thing happened, that thing happened, I tried to control someone. I was angry that I was angry.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And, yeah, no, I believe you. And as what we were talking about before the break, of this is an upside down world. And Tashar went on to say, you know, unscrew it and the water flew all over. But we won't even go there. But if this is what I've experienced all my life being, and the course is leading me to be here, do you think it's going to take some adjustment? It's going to take some adjustment, people, a lot of just adjustment, because it's so different. And we are addicted to playing the game from the ego, and the course is offering a different way, a new way, but we have to be gradually presented that because it's so overwhelming to just flip that bottle totally the opposite direction. Not comfortable from where we are. And again, so much of the course is about becoming aware of what the setup is. In the setup, if you think you've done wrong, punishment is following you. So the next time you think you've done something wrong, be observant of the fact that on some level you're expecting something to come along and punish you. Or even if something good happens, people will say, oh, wait until the next shoe drops. So even if something good happens in your life, it's followed by that, well, I can't be in good all the time. Something's going to come and knock me back where I belong. And become aware of that. Again, when we've chosen this gear, that's the way it's going to come down the pipe, because that's the setup.
I remember being about 4 years old and doing something that I had the best time doing. And I thought it was the most fun in the whole world. And there was a little boy, we were both playing with this thing I had made up, and we made this cement mixer out of my baby buggy. And it was so much fun because, you know, the sand and the mud or whatever we had there with the water, and we were watching because we saw that down our street there, putting streets and driveways. And that. I remember I had so much fun until my mother saw me,
Amen.
and she started yelling at me. And I believe that was the birth of my, because I felt very, I mean, I guess I was a loved child, you know, they loved me, but when I did that, I was.
You knew you weren't.
And that, I just, when you were saying that, I just remember like, it was like the birth of guilt in me over just me, what I was doing with my stuff. Yeah, it was an awareness. It was my first awareness of how something so much fun could turn into such a disaster.
Beautiful.
It was. It was. It was. I mean, I remember it as probably the first thing that was very separated me from my mother's.
Unconditional
The
love.
crazy thing is, we put those types of experiences in our mind and we carry those with us. All you were experiencing was her problem.
Well, you could have.
Had
fooled
nothing
me
to
at that
do
time.
with you.
Did. It fooled me at that time. And I thought
Right,
it
sure.
was that it was my acceptance of that.
You accepted that.
I accepted the work for this lifetime, and I didn't know what was gonna come with all that, and then now I do. And
Yep.
It's okay now, because I see.
Had nothing to do with you.
Right. Ultimately, it's nothing to do with us. It has to do with the thought
Right,
system.
right, so that was my learning.
Yep. Exactly. Right, so I'm going to read that line again. Whenever you respond or choose the ego, you will experience guilt and you will fear punishment. Now, I'm going to ask, isn't that a hell of a way to have to live your life? And we call this wonderful and delightful, and let me have some more of it. All right. The ego is quite literally a fearful thought. And again, Jesus is telling us it's a thought. It's a thought that then gets projected into the world and we experience it as though it is my body that's being operated through that experience, but it's really has only to do with the thought, much like a projector in a movie screen.
We think the world's doing to us what we think we do.
Absolutely, to God, yes.
That's all that side is doing.
Which it will automatically do and continue to do as long as this thought system is engaged. He says, how ridiculous the idea of attacking God may be to the sane mind. Never forget that the ego is not sane. You know, Jesus does not mince for words. He tells us we're insane all the time, and he's not telling us that to make us feel bad. He's telling us that because if you had the choice of all the attributes on this side of the chart, and you keep choosing the thought system that brings this, these attributes, wouldn't you call yourself insane too? Yeah. And again, he's telling us this so that we can become aware of what the choice that we have made is bringing us. Not like this, but it's simply, you know, if you're choosing this, you're going to get this, guys.
And we're still making that choice.
And many of us are still making that choice as well, because we're so addicted to this thought system. And because that would require this, and I'm not ready for that yet.
And that's what makes
And I'll
sense
show
in
this
that
to the
process.
audience because I'm talking about this. All right. It represents a delusional system and speaks for it. He's telling us over and over and over again, the thought system you've chosen is delusional. And I did this chart a long time ago in that section of the course where it talks about the lie. You're either aligned with truth or you're aligned with the lie. Truth is oneness because we're all the same. The lie is duality. There's a you against me. Okay. And it's painful. Not very much fun, but I do get to be in charge. And to the degree any one of us, whether it's on a conscious level or a subconscious level, still run with the concept, I want to be in charge, that will always override the choice for this. Whichever one is the most intact, I guess, at the moment is the one that's going to make a difference with what the choice is. And that's why, like it or not, oftentimes, especially initially, the times that we ask with earnest is when life is so horrible, we can't tolerate doing it on our own. And we finally throw up our hands and say, what do you got for me? And that is the moment that helps to shift us over here for that moment. Then we come back over here because leaving here is very uncomfortable because I'm so addicted to it. But we'll continue to keep choosing, and eventually this will override that, much like learning how to drive a car. Initially, you're, how are my windows, what's going on here? Well, I better watch this. And then eventually most of us drove here and don't even remember driving here because now that's the natural flow. All right, so again, it represents a delusional system and speaks for it. Listening to the ego's voice means that you believe it is possible to attack God and that a part of him has been torn away by you.
There's the guilt.
There's the guilt.
It's capable of accomplishing.
And in order for me to sit on the throne, I had to kick God off and he's gone. Okay, and so this is about, that's what we believe we did. So this is about relinquishing control and saying, okay, God, you're in charge. Come on down. You show me. And then the results will be the re-engagement of what we left behind, though we didn't destroy it. And we will have the revealance of the love, I don't know if that's a word, love, peace, eternity, joy, and innocence instead of guilt, sin, and fear, separation, and suffering and pain that we have lived in all this time. Fear of retaliation from without follows because of the severity of the guilt is so acute that it must be projected. So when that tiny mad idea was thought, it was so horrible. I now believe that God was going to come and do to me what I thought I did to him, which was kick him off the throne, get rid of him, kill him off so that I could exist. So that wasn't an option anymore. So we closed the door to that possibility. Yet the guilt, sin, and fear and terror remained, but I did get to be an individual, special and different, which I still wanted. So the way we solved the problem was to then project the guilt, sin, and fear into the world, put it in somebody else so that I could play the part of an innocent victim, having pulled off, killing off God and remain an innocent victim, and then blame my brother for all the things that are actually coming from my choice of separation. And all the while, God says, nothing happened, come back home. And then we make all these excuses, because that's where we're addicted right now, to the belief in that that's not where I'm ready to go yet. And so that's the game that we play back and forth. What do I want? What do I want? What do I want? Yes, Miriam.
Well, now we have a course in miracles.
And now we have a Course in Miracles. Yes. Well, I'm sure there were openings at that point, but you have to understand the Course in Miracles came because there were enough people that were open to the possibility of something different. So if we say, but 100 years ago, what about, we have to understand this came now because people were ready for something different or a different awareness.
And non-duality teachings.
Oh, thousands of years, yes.
The system was still in operation.
Oh,
We
yeah.
just didn't have the force to take
Right.
us through.
Correct. Right. And I mean, look at, there's a very small percentage of people that are drawn to the course. And why is one person drawn to it and other people not?
But yet there was enough.
Well, yes. And isn't that great? We have this wonderful blue book that makes us crazy. But we're right there. All right. Sticking with you. There you go.
Nothing else. What's going on?
Absolutely.
We never realized that we did have another.
We did not have a clue.
And of course, just very gently takes me from whatever I think the problem is here, the specifics,
Yes, and it lets me know that there are two choices. I can either choose love or I can choose guilt, sin, and fear. And if I am able, which I'm not that often,
Yeah.
to see it that simply,
Yes.
because it really is simple.
And I think initially it doesn't seem anything but simple, but as we sift through it, understand it on a deeper and deeper level, it literally becomes one choice or the other. That's all. That's all there ever is and all there ever will be.
And it's scary because we have turned that water bottle.
Absolutely. And I kind of like this. All I want is that someone put some, doilies around it or something, make it prettier. That would be good for me. Yeah. And that's not the undoing process. And again, this is so tricky because we have put this in a manner where I'm the center, I'm the hero of the dream. I'm the middle here. And I have to relinquish me to find out what he's got for me. That's not very fair. I mean, we set it up that way, but from our point of view, being so addicted and identified with the ego, that doesn't seem quite right.
It seems like we're stepping into the abyss.
No, we are stepping into the abyss, and that's why it feels that way, yes. And we don't like abyss, we like solid, we like things to hold on, yeah, we do.
Oh, what's the matter with the little abyss?
No, well. All right, so paragraph 4. Whatever you accept into your mind has reality for you. It is your acceptance of it that makes it real. If you enthrone the ego in your mind, you're allowing it to enter, makes it your reality. This is because the mind is capable of creating reality or making illusions. I said before that you must learn to think with God. To think with him is to think like him. This engenders joy, not guilt, because it is natural. Guilt is a sure sign that your thinking is unnatural. Unnatural thinking will always be as a positive act of assault. Now, did I not finish that right? Okay, the unnatural thinking will always be attended with guilt because it is the belief in sin. The ego does not perceive sin as a lack of love, but as a positive act of assault. This is necessary to the ego's survival because as soon as you regard sin, as soon as you regard sin as a lack, you will automatically attempt to remedy the situation. And you will succeed. The ego regards this as doom, but you must learn to regard it as freedom. Yeah. So whenever you accept into your mind has reality for you. So I either have this accepted in my mind or I have this accepted in my mind. And whichever one of those I'm choosing at every given moment has reality for me. So anytime you look at your world and you're suffering, there's pain, I feel lack, you name them, all those attributes other than peace, know that this is one that's in charge and has my reality for me. It is your acceptance of it that makes it real. Okay, that's why Jesus got this. And as he says in the course, he gave it to all the rest of us. But each one of us individually have to accept it just like he did. And most of us aren't quite caught up to that yet, but the option is available. If you enthrone the ego in your mind, you're allowing it to enter, it makes it your reality. And again, enthrone, put it on the throne. If I have to kick off God to enthrone my belief system, and then that's the results that I'm going to get.
Right here.
You got it. I know, I thought that was a really beautiful line that really, let's see, if you enthrone the ego in your mind, you are allowing it to enter, makes it your reality. That's line number 3.
That's our day.
That's our day.
We are the ego.
And
Right.
right, and be aware, we've been living through this since we took our very first breath.
Absolutely.
This is constant. This is normal. This is not normal from our point of view, though Jesus will say this is normal. Miracles aren't normal, but we believe this is our reality. And so flipping to here is very threatening for most of us.
What I find kind of interesting right now is that it's like so much in the world seems to want to affirm this side of things.
That's what it's all about. Yes.
I had a dream of where there was a suitcase and the blood was trying to dig a hole to get in the suitcase. And what does this mean? But what it is there's these fear ideas and they're
Yes.
all about separation. They're trying to get in. And I remember Steve Harvey, the comedian,
Mhm.
said that when he was a little kid, he was a terrible stutterer and not that successful,
Right.
fudgy.
Yep.
And he said, well, everybody write on your page what you want to be. Because I want to be on television. So she read everybody stuff out loud.
Hmm.
And she said, Steve, come down front. And he came down front. You can't be on television. There's nobody like us on television. There's not this, there's not that. And sometimes we get other people to say to us what we secretly believe.
Indeed.
And
Indeed.
she said, explain this. Of course, he's a stutterer. He just got flustered and flummoxed. And it's a worldly example, but it's
Well.
parallel to this.
Yep.
And so, when he's been on TV every year, he sends her a CD.
Yeah. Sweet. Wow. 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 Wow.
But she didn't think she was hurting anybody.
She was, yeah, trying to help him find another
For
claim.
many years, but then-
Wow. 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 Wow.
That's what happens to us. It's like we were kind of on a break, you get all the things you think you want. And it's like a Peggy Lee song. Is that all there is?
Exactly. No, he's up there. I don't know who.
Oh, yeah, we-
My mother watched all those things.
He's on the family, he's on the family too.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so we're talking about the 50s.
people are still doing that.
Well, not all of you have ever been to see Ken Wapnick, but he had a very severe stutter. I think it got better as he, was teaching for a long time, but he had a very serious stutter. Yeah.
When I see my YouTube, and I've known that.
Yeah.
You've said that before. You can tell that there had been a stuttering. A stuttering problem, but he really is really, I guess, is able to get past it real quickly.
Right. Yep. Who did? Well, that's what I was talking about. Oh, really? I didn't know Joe did too. Right.
Really, I never got.
I think you noticed it a lot more when you were in person with
Never
him.
experienced.
Right, okay. All right, so I'm going to read that line again. If you enthrone the ego in your mind, you're allowing it to enter, makes it your reality. Okay, and again, as the Course says, when we made that choice, we then mind melded with that thought system and totally forgot there was another thought system to choose for. This is because the mind is capable of creating reality or making illusions. So when we align with the ego, we automatically create reality just by extending what we are. When we made the choice to separate, we then began to make, and notice the word make instead of create, we began to make illusions. I said before that you must learn to think with God. Thinking with God is here. Thinking with God is not over here. That's the opposite. We decided we were going to think on our own when we made the choice for separation. But he's saying you must learn to think with God. How do I learn to think with God? I get the hell out of the way and allow God to work through me. If I'm in charge, forget it. Not happening. Well, and then there's that. And the Course even says, you don't only think you think and think you see and think you hear, because the body is just a puppet. A puppet doesn't think or hear or any of that. It's simply operating out of the puppeteer that's operating it. To think with him is to think like him, which just makes sense. This engenders joy, not guilt, because it is natural. And as I said a few minutes ago, this is natural according to the Course. This is unnatural, but we've been playing unnatural all our lives, and or before that even. And so this feels unnatural. And I sometimes give the example, I'll give two possibilities of, if we were a bunch of kids and we went to a garage sale and we found a game and there were only half the pieces there and there was no directions, we're kids, we're creative, so we may go home and create a game and figure out how we want to play it. And we may play that game for 10 years and then some other person comes along and says, that's not how you play the game. Let me show you the directions. Well, you don't want to play it the new way. You're going to continue to play it the way you've always played it. And the other thing is, in our country, we don't go by leaders and so on because it's too confusing for us, because the other way is our norm. Years ago, they tried to come and make the change. We said, no, we want it the way it's always been. Leaders and decimal and whatever, yeah. And because, that means I have to change. I have to do something different. Right. Well, this Course wants us to do everything different. All right. So guilt is a sure sign that your thinking is unnatural. So Jesus is, again, not saying that to make us feel bad or guilty. He's just simply saying that to help us recognize if you're feeling guilty or any of those other delightful attributes that represent anything but peace and love, know that it's because you've chosen this thought system and you feel guilty. And that's going to keep you, as long as you're identified with it, from ever experiencing joy or oneness. All right. Unnatural thinking will always be attended with guilt, because it is the belief in sin. So when we choose for this, we believe in guilt, we believe in sin, we believe in fear, and we expect that we're going to be punished because we believe we did something wrong, instead of simply made a mistake. Instead of seeing the sign entering Canada and you left Cleveland and you wanted to go to Florida, the answer is turn around and go the other direction. Don't reprimand yourself because you did the wrong thing. If you want to go to Florida, you got to turn around and go the other way. That's simple. Don't add anything else to it. All right, so the ego does not perceive sin as lack of love, but as a positive act of assault, because we've assaulted God to remain over here, okay? This is necessary to the ego's survival. Because as soon as you regard sin as lack, you will automatically attempt to remedy the situation. So basically what that means is, as we start to turn this around, become more aware of what the real deal is, the ego's losing its footing. It doesn't have control anymore. We're getting a little sharper. We're getting a little bit smarter with this process. And he says, and you will succeed. The ego regards this as doom. And again, if this is what norm is to the ego, this is doom. This is unfamiliar ground. But you must learn to regard it as freedom. Because the only way out is to relinquish the ego thought system and grasp for the thought system of the Holy Spirit, or our true nature. All right, so paragraph 5. The guiltless mind cannot suffer. Being sane, the mind heals the body because it has been healed. The sane mind cannot conceive of illness because it cannot conceive of attacking anyone or anything. I said before that illness is a form of magic. It might be better to say that it is a form of a magical solution. The ego believes that by punishing yourself, it will mitigate the punishment of God. Yet even in this, it is arrogant. It attributes to God a punishing intent, then takes this intent as its own prerogative. It tries to usurp all the functions of God as it perceives them because it recognizes that only total alliance can be trusted.
This is the God you made up.
This is the God that we have made up and believe. Yes,
But it isn't true.
it's not true. So the guiltless mind cannot suffer. And again, we are so wrapped tight in the ego thought system. We can't even imagine what a life would be like without any suffering, without any guilt, without any punishment, without none of that. I mean, it sounds good to me, but it's hard for me to imagine that because like literally everywhere we look, there's some aspect of that being played out in our world. And to me, that's a real good reason to have a goal to keep choosing, because I want to know what it feels like to have a guiltless mind that cannot suffer. Being sane, so when your mind is aligned with truth and it's no longer guilty, it will then be aligned with sanity. The mind heals the body because it has been healed. And this is a little tricky because this doesn't really have anything to do with the physical body. It has to do with the belief that you have a body. So when we're aligned with the ego, we're always looking through the lens of our bodies. And we think that healing has to do with our body, but it really means the healing of your mind. And, you know, one person may have a physical pain, another person may have an issue with somebody. It doesn't matter what form it pops up in your life, and don't compare yours with somebody else because it doesn't matter. If you have an experience of lack of love or connection, it's really all the same in regard to the course. It means you've chosen against the love that's really yours. The sane mind cannot conceive of illness because it cannot conceive of attacking anyone or anything. I mean, and again, just look at how many moments of your day you're attacking yourself or somebody else, and it's just like chop, 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 or you're attacking the carpet because there's a spot, and it doesn't matter what it is. There's, but you have a thought. It's always, it doesn't matter. Yes, it's a thought. It always comes back to the thought. I said before that illness is a form of magic, and what that means is we use the form of illness, and again, illness is any form of lack of love, as the problem. Then we focus on solve the problem. The problem is this, let's go to the doctor, let's go that. And I'm not saying you shouldn't go to the doctor if you need to, or if you have a headache, that you shouldn't take aspirin and whatnot, but the course would call that magic. It's breathing is eating, same thing. Yes, so that the magic is to keep us stuck in the illusion, to find the answer in the illusion, instead of finding the answer where the answer lies, which is that we believe this is the thought system that we want to align with, and then to relinquish this and choose the right one. And that is the healing, not the specifics of the things in the world. Although that's really challenging because we're so addicted to the body and taking care of my body and healing my body and making it better than it was, or whatever form we like to look at. But it's saying that's keeping us, again, very stuck out here. And you might think of going to the doctor or taking aspirin, similar to what I sometimes talk about, the idea if my roof is leaking and it's pouring down rain in my kitchen, it's a good idea to go get a mop and clean up the floor, because you're probably going to slip on the floor and break your leg, and then you'll have more problems. But until we get up on the roof and heal the roof where the problem is, we're going to be mopping for a long time. But in the meantime, do what you need to do in the world, but keep asking to have your mind healed. That's really what the problem is. So don't avoid doing things in the world that normal people do, but know that that's not really going to heal the problem. Choosing to have your mind healed is the problem, the solution to the problem. The ego believes that by punishing itself, it will mitigate the punishment of God. So we even step in and take care of that for God.
That's some more the special relationship.
It's more the special
How to fix it with
relationship.
God.
Fix it without God, yes.
Right, or
Yes,
how to
right.
fix it so that, yeah, so that we're at peace.
Correct.
We're still looking for God. But not-
Yet even in this, it is arrogant. So again, Bert was talking about creating an image of healing or whatever. That's another form of being arrogant. I'm going to figure it out. I have the image that's going to look good so that I'll know what healing looks like. We don't know anything. We don't know what the course talks about the idea. We don't know what the problem is. We don't know what the solution is. So how can we be the ones to take care of resolving it?
That's the problem is we walk around the world. I'm right. And
Well,
I know.
exactly. And again, that's how this is all set up. And we were taught from the time we were a little child, you need to grow up and be responsible and take charge, and on it goes. And then all of a sudden this comes along and says, no, relinquish your control. Well, huh?
Well, that's what it is.
It's exactly what it is.
And you just watch yourself throughout your day, you know, it tells you that this is the kind of day you can have, and you can make a list or whatever, if you just don't decide by yourself. Well,
Exactly.
guess what?
We
We're in
usually do.
charge, don't we?
Yep.
So we think.
And
And
as
that's
we,
where we end up being miserable and complain about it.
not realizing that it was ourselves that set up the
Exactly.
situation, not as Mary Ann, but as the Son of God. Yeah.
Exactly.
All right. So yet, even in this, it is arrogant because that's what the ego is all about. I'm in charge, and I'm in charge. And I'm right, by the way. It attributes to God a punishing intent. And even those words, you know, it's almost impossible for most of us, having been brought up in this culture, not to think of God in some aspect of punishment.
That's because the Bible is the one that laid it out that way.
Which we wrote and made it so,
Exactly. Well,
right. But this
I never
whole
would
idea,
have thought, you know, the
No.
Bible didn't know what the hell it was talking about.
Exactly.
Well, here's God. I'm upset at what you did. Well, God doesn't know what we did. If the guy we made up says, oh, he took it serious, eating the apple. Well, he did.
Yep.
You're gonna suffer all the days of your life. And beside that, I'm gonna kick your ass out of heaven.
and put angels around so we can't get back in on top of it. Yep.
Without making it obvious that if I can piss God off, I must be greater than He is.
Well, there's that too. Yep.
Because of what, well, that's how we act out here. Because of what you did, now I'm angry. Now I'm this, now I'm that. Because of what you did.
And all the while, Jesus remains in the correct mind, totally doing what he does, which is just extend love, waiting for us to drop our storyline to return back to him.
But he gets it, that I just made a mistake. And
He does, but do I?
I didn't really want to do all those things to make him mad, so somebody had to get it, so God gets it, and then now it's filtered down to us. So getting back to the thought is re-examine.
Now the thing is, take a look at your day and see how you really look at it. That's all he's asking you to do.
That's nice, because it doesn't feel like the whole gospel. It feels like, you know, I'm not out of gas and I'm out of time. I'll be all right. Something else will happen, whatever.
So it attributes to God a punishing intent and then takes this intent as its own prerogative. So now I can be just like God because I've given the face of not innocence to God, and I can do the same thing. It tries to usurp all the functions of God as it perceives them because it recognizes that only total alliance can be trusted. So in other words, we're kind of messed up. And with that, I think it's time to go. Yeah, just chew on that for a while this week, guys.
Walking off duty back.
There you go. Smelling so good. Okay, so everybody take a nice big deep breath and let it all go. Forgive us our illusions, Father, and help us to accept our true relationship with you, in which there are no illusions and when none can ever enter. Our holiness is yours. What can there be in us that needs forgiveness when yours is perfect? The sleep of forgetfulness is only the unwillingness to remember your forgiveness and your love. Let us not wander into temptation, for the temptation of the Son of God is not your will. And let us receive only what you have given, and accept with this into the minds that you created and which you love. Amen. All right, bye, everyone.
Thank you.
Let me just do this.